Hello, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Wingervasio, and today we're going to be covering Chapter 5, Lesson 5.4, Solving Proportions. Reference pages to this can be found in your textbook, pages 188 and 189. As a reminder, don't forget to take down all the notes you see in today's video for full credit for your notebook. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, in this lesson, we're going to be solving. Now, in the previous lesson, we learned what a proportion is and how to write a proportion. So now we're going to be solving it. I might have shown you a little glimpse of on solving proportions in the last video, but here's another few more methods you can use in solving proportions. So the first method you can use is the mental math method. You can guess to see what the unknown value is. The second method is using the multiplication property, which we are going to show, or I'm going to show you today. And the third one is the cross product property, which I showed you in the previous video. So these are the two I'm going to focus on in today's video on solving proportions. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I have here an example. It says here 5, 7 equals x over 21, our proportion. As a reminder, don't forget a proportion has to have two ratios with an equal sign, and that makes a proportion. So this is a proportion. Now it says that we're going to be using the multiplication method. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the column that has the unknown. And I notice the unknown side is right here. And we're going to look to see what number is under the unknown, and it's 21. Now what we're going to have to do with this 21 is to get rid of it so that x could be by itself so we can solve for x. So to get rid of this 21, we multiply. So the reason why we're multiplying is we want to get rid of the 21. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this problem so you can see 5 over 7 equals x over 21. Again, we're trying to solve for x. So to get x by itself, to get an answer for x, we need to get rid of this 21 by multiplying it. If we do it to this side, we'll do it to the other side. So once you multiply this side, x is by itself. So once x is by itself, whatever answer I get on this side, that will be my answer and solution to my x. So let's go ahead and complete this. 21 times 5 is 105, and if you don't know that on the top of your head like I did, you can always do it on the side. And then there's an invisible 1 underneath here, so 1 times 7 is 7. And of course, if you can always simplify your answer, always simplify. So 105 divided by 7 happens to be, let me scoot this up, 15. So 15 would be your answer for x. So when I go up back to my proportion, instead of saying x, I can say 15 over 21. And then we can compare it. I'll write it in another color. We can compare it to see if the proportions are the same, if they want, or if they ask that question. So instead of x, we put 15. And this is how you solve a proportion using multiplication. You multiply the number under the unknown to both sides. That way you can get the x by itself. So let's go ahead and have, oops, let me go ahead and undo that. I meant to highlight that for you. Let me highlight that for you. So let's go ahead and have you do an example. So if you can take out a piece of paper and do the homework on your own on a separate sheet of paper. Again, you want to solve for the number underneath the unknown to both sides. So I'm highlighting this out for you so you can see. And when you do that, you get the variable by itself to solve or to get the answer to the variable. Okay? All right, go ahead and try this using the multiplication method. All right, now this second example is example 2 using the cross product. Now I might have shown you in the previous video using the cross product example or method. I have to say most students, even myself, I like to use the cross product method more than the multiplication just because I think it's a little bit faster. So let me go ahead and show you how it's done. So for this one, all you're going to do is what it says is use the cross product. So you're going to cross this. X times 10 is 10x. And then you're going to cross this way. 7 times 8 or 8 times 7 is going to be 56. And then what you're going to do is to solve for x, I'm going to do my train tracks, divide both sides by 10 so that x could be by itself. And if I do it to this side, I do it to the other side. And then cancel, x equals, and then to get my answer, I would do top goes in, bottom goes out, and 56 divided by 10. You can also move decimals. I know that there's 1 0, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the division this way so that way you can see. That's going to go in 5 times. That's 50. That's going to go in, or that's going to be 6 left over. Drop a decimal, 0, 0, and then 10 goes into 66 times. So our answer is 5.6. And this is how you do the cross product method. You just cross the products and then you're going to solve for the variable. So let's go ahead and do this one together. If you can follow along and copy down what I'm doing. You're going to do 9 times 17. And so 9 times 17, if you don't know that, you can always do it on the side. That's 153. And then you're going to do 3 times y, which is 3y, so I'll put 3y over here. And then to get y by itself, let me do my train tracks. I divide both sides by 3 because opposite of times 3 is divide. So I'm going to divide this side by 3, that side by 3. This cancels. Again, this is just like equations we did in another chapter. Y is by itself. 153 divided by 3, you can do top goes in, bottom goes out. I'll show my work on the side right here. 153 divided by 3, and that goes in 5 times. That goes in 15, so that's going to be a 0. Bring down the 3, and so your answer is 51. So y would be 51. And this is how you would do the cross product method. Again, you can either do either way on the test or a quiz that I give you, but for homework, if they ask you to use a particular method, please use that method. So for this next slide, if you can use the cross product method for problems 4, 5, and 6 on the same homework paper that you did in the other page. Remember, problems 1, 2, 3, it was using the multiplication property. This one's using the cross product property. Okay? Again, if I'm going too fast in the video, you can always pause the video to solve the problem, write down the answers, and then press play again. All right. So this is our last example. And I forgot to write that down, so let me go ahead and type that for you. This is our example 3. This is going to be a story problem, a real life example. So it says here we have at the graph that shows a toll. Toll is basically amount of money that you have to pay when you cross maybe a bridge or so. So it says the toll Y due on a turnpike. So when you're going through this turnpike, kind of like a bridge, they charge you an amount of money for driving X miles, so however many miles you cross. Your toll is $7.50. So in the end, after you cross that turnpike, it costs you $7.50. So how many kilometers did you actually drive? Now I'm going to go ahead and study and look at my graph right here, and I notice that it's in dollars, but it's also in distance in miles. But the question is asking you in kilometers. So what we're going to have to do is now just choose a point, and I actually always like to choose the smallest point just because it's easier to work with. Again, you may use any point you want, so I'm going to go ahead and use this one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a proportion so that I can convert my miles into kilometers, because this right here is already saying 100 miles, because this is X, is 750 right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give you a conversion that you don't already have. So you would need to know this information before you continue solving this problem. You need to know that 100 or 1.61 kilometers is actually 1 mile. So this is something that you would need to know before doing this problem. So if you didn't know it, I'm giving you this information. Usually you can find these conversions online, and sometimes it's also in journals or notebooks in the back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to write a proportion. So if we know 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers, what we can do is we can say 1 miles is 1.61 kilometers. So what we just did is we wrote a ratio. Now, I said we would need to set a proportion to find the unknown kilometers. So if we know we traveled how many here? It looks like we traveled, look up, it looks like we traveled 100 miles. We can put 100 miles on top, because remember what we write on one side here across should be the same. So miles, 2 miles. And now, do we know how many is 100 miles in kilometers? No, we don't. So that's the question. So we're going to put X kilometers since they want to know how many kilometers. So now we're going to go ahead and solve that. So we're going to do 100 times 1.61. So 100 times 1.61 is actually 161. You can do the math on this side too. I just did it in my head by moving 2 zeros. equals 1 times x is 1x. So now I'm going to solve for x, divide both sides by 1, and x happens to be 161. So it's 161 kilometers if you went 100 miles according to this. So this is just a real life example showing you that how you can use the multiplication method or the cross product to solve for a missing unknown answer if you want to convert. Okay? All right. Go ahead and do the exit ticket on the same page as your homework. And if you have any questions on today's video or lesson, feel free to ask me tomorrow in class and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Have a great day. Bye-bye.